I did the interview tapes. Alright. Top left to bottom right. Aaron Cash recalled that night at Arkham Asylum. No, hold on. Let me get my glasses on. Let me get my glasses on real quick. I'm gonna mute you real quick. Aaron Cash recalled that night back at Arkham Asylum when, watching from a security monitor, he saw Quincy Sharp scrawl an elaborate message on the floor of the cell block control room using a rusty nail and blood from his fingertips before forcing his way out of the cell, only to disappear into the chaos. He didn't know where Sharp had gone, but he was sure that there was something seriously wrong with the future mayor of Gotham City. With no other career options available, and a nagging feeling that he had seen Hugo Strange before, he reluctantly accepted the He reluctantly accepted the job of running a small medical team charged with providing assistance to any resident of Arkham City who needed it. Andre Abramovich was a respected man in a small Siberian village where he lived with his pregnant wife. When word reached Andre that his wife was in labor, he rushed home, excited to the other side, but was met only by the midwife. His wife had not survived the birth. Complications due to the special nature of his newborn sons were to blame. Pushing into the room, he found his twin sons, joined at the shoulder, screaming for their mother. He took the twins and left town, crying. He stood on a bridge over the freezing cold river and contemplated throwing them to their deaths, but he could not do it. Leaving his sons outside the tent of a traveling freak show, Andre returned home to his village, a broken man. The Joker heard tales of the conjoined Abomination twins, now only known as Hammer and Sickle, and for the reputation for brutality. And he wanted them for himself, sending Harley on a desperate mission to retrieve them. C passed on a message to the circus owner that her puddin would pay big for the twins. Of course, the owner refused to sell his headlining act. He promptly vanished, only to be found 3 months later with a new smile carved on his face. Once the decision to create Arkham City had been approved, Mayor Sharp ordered that Arkham Asylum be put up for sale. In a press conference, he claimed, "This is a fantastic revenue opportunity for Gotham City." Although a number of prominent Gotham companies entered bids for the land, the winning bid came from a previously unknown security company named Tiger. Within weeks of the sale, Tiger was also awarded the contract to police Arkham City and instantly began using the island to launch its fleet of helicopter gunships to patrol the new prison facility. Cass chose the abandoned church building near the Solomon Wayne Courthouse to situate his medical team at. I'm a horrible reader, I'm sorry. knowing that Strange was only providing the minimal amount of medical assistance to placate those campaigning against Arkham City. Cass was forced to beg for equipment and additional medical supplies. The first donations came from Bruce Wayne himself, who supplied a series of security shutters to keep the people from within the building safe, along with cutting-edge body armor and supplies. On hearing about Wayne's donations, Strange is furious and locked down all supply routes between the medical team and the outside world. Rain! Stop meowing! That makes it way harder for me to understand what you want. And I mean way harder. She meows when she goes downstairs, and she meows randomly. And I don't know what she wants, because now when she goes to the stairs, she doesn't want to go downstairs. She just looks. I open the door, she looks downstairs. Did I read that yet? Yeah. On the perimeter wall of Arkham City is a Tiger confiscated goods vault. This high security facility houses all the items confiscated from criminals upon their admittance to the prison. Rain! A special vault is used to protect the equipment and ill-gotten gain to the various supercriminals and is guarded 24/7 by a squad of Tiger guards. Upon her arrest, Hugo Strange placed all Catwoman's belongings there, and she has vowed to get them back and leave Arkham City for good. Just weeks before Arkham City was due to... Really? Really? I am trying to talk, and everything is trying to make me mispronounce words. And say the wrong words. Hold on. What was that? Okay. Arkham City was due to open for business. The streets and roads in the northeast of the facility were devastated by a series of unexplained seismic incidents. The large-scale subsidence left the street level of an entire district submerged underwater. Campaigners opposed to Hugo Strange's super prison demanded further investigation into the cause of disturbances, arguing that this was further proof that the areas were unfit under basic humanitarian grounds. However, Strange vetoed plans for an inquiry on his land. He provided his own experts to demonstrate that the seismic activity was a one-off event, and maintained that the inmates had given up their rights to do any decent standard of living. I need to pronounce letters correctly. He provided his own experts to demonstrate that the seismic activity was a one-off event and maintained that the inmates had given up their rights to any decent standard of living. Yay! Go me! Upon becoming mayor, Quincy Sharp presented Gotham City with his plan to create a super prison in the north of the city. I'm reading ahead. I'm like trying to get stuff out, like to stop. Claiming that the site was selected because it contained extreme areas of social decay and neglect. When Bruce Wayne spoke out at the consultation committee hearing, the mayor pointed out that this location was where Wayne's parents had been murdered decades before. The council passed a motion to create Arkham City and set about issuing eminent domain seizures, allowing it to purchase all land within the site's walls. Hugo Strange's obsession with Bruce Wayne and Batman was unbearable. He needed to know every small detail of how this man functioned to understand exactly what made him tick, so that he could finally destroy him. Strange manipulated the mayor into allowing squads of Tiger officers to be deployed into Gotham City, under the pretense of aiding the police. However, unknown to the people of Gotham, the Tiger Guards had only one target, the Batman. Strange knew his men would initially fail, but he studied every defeat meticulously, analyzing the techniques and strategies of his opponent. It would be only a matter of time before he had the necessary data to defeat the Bat. Mayor Quincy Sharp looked proud as he addressed Gotham on the night that Arkham City officially opened for business. As he introduced Hugo Strange to the mass of journalists, he felt sure that the hard work and sacrifices had been worth it. He could hardly believe. I just now noticed that the lines are moving up. Really? He could hardly believe that he had achieved so much in the 18 months since the events on Arkham Island. As the same pain bottle smashed against the wall, Strange whispered to him that he would soon have Catwoman and Two-Face arrested and brought to his prison. Quincy smiled. With Arkham City's construction complete, he was guaranteed the approval of the city, and with all the supervillains in his custody, their next target will be Batman, the person he blamed for everything. I'm not even halfway, and I'm just struggling to read. In fact, I struggled to read on the first one. Seriously. Hit by a Batmobile and knocked into the dark waters surrounding the Sorbo was quickly recaptured and taken back to the asylum. Weakened by his injuries and the experiments performed upon him by Dr. Young. I haven't heard that name in months. That's not months, but like still. He patiently waited, plotting his revenge, not plogging. Forced into keeping a low profile as he recovered, Bane searched Arkham City for a suitable location to act as a hideout and found just what he needed in the form of the Crank Toys building. Rain, please! There, surrounded by toys, he waited, recuperating, until the time was right to make his move. You done yet? Having no love for his fellow prisoners in Arkham City, Bane set up and presided over an underground fighting contest where the inmates fought in vain for the privilege of trying to take him down. Rain! Any more, and you're going downstairs. If you would stop meowing so randomly, I would know what you want. And any different meow means the same thing as your default meow. So you quite literally made it impossible for me to figure out what you want. What was I? Word of these fights spread throughout Arkham, and Joker sent Bane a little surprise. As Bane moved in for the kill, the Joker's henchman triggered a Titan injection that ripped through his body, transforming him into a monstrous Titan. Rain, shut up, please! Barely surviving the fight, Bane had a new problem. Somehow, Titan had found its way into Arkham City, and it was up to him to stop it from falling into the wrong hands. If only I could read without her meowing and me having bad pronunciations and just saying the wrong words. Roman Sionis, aka Black Mask, is the first and only inmate to have escaped from Arkham City. Okay. Using explosives stolen from the Penguin, he waited until the Tiger shift scenes, blasted his way through the containment wall, and went on the run in Gotham City. Yeah, where? He didn't really do much months after. Furious, Hugo Strange ordered his Tiger operatives onto the streets to focus all their attention on finding Black Mask, who was finally captured after a violent siege at the meatpacking plant he owned. This dude. This cat. Promising that no one else would ever skip again, Strange fitted a series of automated machine guns to the walls of Arkham City, designed to kill anyone else who dared to try. Downstairs! Downstairs. I've had enough. problem is trying to not mispronounce words and not say other words. Yippee. As Hugo Strange was revealed as the public face of Arkham City, Batman attempted to uncover any information he could about the Okay. About the history of this mysterious figure. I'll just restart. Yeah. As Hugo Strange was revealed as the public face of Arkham City, Batman attempted to uncover any information he could about the history of the mysterious figure. Convinced that nothing in Arkham City was what it seemed to be, Batman dug deeper and deeper but came out blank. It was as if all evidence of Strange had been wiped clean. One thing was certain, however. Strange could not have done this alone. Batman was determined to ensure that the site of his parents' death would not become a monument to Gotham's failure, and dedicated himself to shutting down Arkham City. There's another page. I'm not even halfway. Julian Day, aka Counterman, had been locked in a cell in Arkham Asylum for a full year when he was moved to Arkham City. Unable to celebrate the passing holidays in his own inimitable style, he could do nothing more than just imagine what he would have done if you were free. In Arkham City, he quickly found the Solomon Wayne courthouse and claimed it as his own. Anyone who dared to come in was overpowered and taken to a cell where they remained until next holiday, when they would kill them. It was all going well until Two-Face arrived with a small army and took the courthouse for himself, locking Day up in the cell. Here's a quarter. Good thing it's short. Basil Carlo, aka Clayface, used his ability to mimic the exact appearance of anyone to impersonate Quincy Sharp and escape from Arkham Asylum. On the run in Gotham City, Clayface has been forced to constantly change his appearance in order to stay one step ahead of Hugo Strange and his guards. His current whereabouts are unknown. Welcome to Sugar Tonight. Everything is going wrong. Let's go. That's the quarter done. Yippee. What is this? Oh. Well, yeah. The Falcons. No, 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 no. The Falcones are America's oldest surviving crime family. Generation after generation has ruled the underworld with iron fists, preferring to stay away from more colorful supervillain activities. They maintain legitimate business interests, including garbage collection and shipping companies. The current head of the family, Carmine the Roman Falcone, is feared by all, and until recently had the city in his pocket. But something has changed. Quincy Sharp, the newly elected mayor and a man who should be afraid of him, was not. Carmine's attempts to intimidate Sharp had resulted in his henchmen mysteriously disappearing, and Sharp has struck back, with the Tiger Guards closing down Falcone's operations all over the city. So where's that Sharp in Arkham Asylum, Arkham City? Because that Sharp does not exist. That dude was intimidated so easily. Even thugs with information about Riddler stuff can strike back. Sharp on the other hand, this dude tells you immediately. Family business. As Hugo Strange's Tiger Guard's grip on the city tightened, a Falcone family meeting was called. The choice is simple: stay in Gotham and face arrest and imprisonment in Arkham City, or leave. The younger members of the family argued that the Falcones run from no one. But in the end, it was a Roman decision. The next day, the entire family packed up and left Gotham, heading to the relative safety of Bloodhaven. Yeah, I felt Nightwing. By the way, we need a Nightwing game. After Batman stopped him from escaping Arkham Asylum, the Joker sat alone in his padded cell, knowing something was wrong. Not like a Nightwing game, but like, I want to see Bloodhaven. The first sign was an unusual lump on his shoulder. He felt tainted. Weeks went by and 10 more unusual lumps appeared. The Titan had done something to him. Something bad. Something that wasn't funny at all. Okay, stream good night. The Joker is dying. He knew it, and soon so would anyone who saw him. The last thing he needed was to appear weak before his rivals. So one day at lunch, the Joker took a spoon and dug out another inmate's eyes, knowing this would give him solitary confinement. He would keep out of sight, at least until his transfer to Arkham City. The Joker needed an escape plan, and on the night of his transfer, Harley Quinn provided one, disguised as an Arkham guard. She overpowered the Joker's escorts and started putting away to a boat waiting on the island's quayside. Hold on, Cramp. Alright. As the boat carrying the twisted pair sped off towards Gotham, it was joined by a second. A secret alarm placed by Batman had alerted him to the Joker's escape, and here he was in the Batboat, pursuing the fugitives. He, they ignored his orders to stop, so Batman opened fire. What? I'm sorry, he opened fire on a boat? As Harley steered the boat to shore, missiles ripped the hull to pieces. They swam, the weakened Joker being pulled through the water by a distraught Harley, desperate to save her pudding. She pulled the Joker out of the water to safety, somehow avoiding Batman's searchlight. She and the Joker sat there, gasping for breath, when they suddenly realized where they are. Where they were. Arkham City. Strange goings on. Working on Arkham Asylum, Professor Hugo Strange used a series of complicated psychological profiling techniques to identify the man behind Batman's mask as Bruce Wayne. Planning to become both rich and famous, he plotted to sell the secret of Batman's identity to the highest bidder. Word spread throughout the criminal underworld that Batman's greatest secret was for sale, but before anyone could act on it, Hugo Strange Hugo Strange. Hugo Strange vanished. This is gonna suck. That wasn't a quarter. This is the quarter. Right. Yeah. Now in charge of Arkham City, Strange continues his radical experiments into the workings of the human mind. During processing, Strange personally selects inmates that fit his criteria and has them taken away to his inmate behavioral analysis unit. No one knows what happened to the missing prisoners in that room except Strange himself. Sometimes they emerge lobotomized from the streets, but more often they are never heard from again. Some people believe that Strange brainwashes the missing thugs and turns them into his tiger guards, whereas others believe he has a deal with the Penguin and hands them to use as target practice. I believe the first one actually. I believe the first one where he brainwashes them into tiger guards. As the plans for Arkham City became public knowledge, Commissioner Gordon, I saw the dirt or sand move. There's something off. Commissioner Gordon, incensed at not having been consulted on Mayor Sharp's decision, attempted to block construction of the court order. He failed. The commissioner called on Batman and explained that he suspected corruption at the highest levels of Sharp's administration. That was short. After losing his case against Mayor Sharp, Gordon was summoned to City Hall. Does anyone else see the telltale Batman bat symbol? That's what I'm seeing from that. Sharp tried to reason with Gordon, explaining that Arkham City would be something they could both be proud of, but Gordon held his ground. Sharp calmly stated that he understood Gordon's position and expected Gordon to quietly resign. Furious, Gordon stormed out. He might have resigned if he hadn't been talked out of it by Batman. Batman suggested attacking Mayor Sarp in Arkham City with a public campaign, headed not by Gordon but some of the money and profile into win popular support, someone like Bruce Wayne. So that's the start of the game, okay. I really hate reading out loud. I can do it with my eyes just fine, but speaking, Soon after his arrival in Gotham City, the Penguin decided to make an impression on the underworld elite with a gala opening for his nightclub, the Iceberg Lounge. He included the notorious Joker, whose appearance would surely impress the crowd. When the Joker arrived, Harley Quinn on his arm and a dainty flower in his lapel. Did I pronounce that? The Penguin was thrilled. He was hosting a sinister sorority. Not sure that's how you pronounce that either. Of the century, until a clumsy waitress spilled a drink on the Joker. If you saw the Clown Prince of Crime and you were ordered to bring a drink to the Clown Prince of Crime, would you still be normal? Hell no. You would be careful. Any wrong move, and this dude will choose how he kills you. The laughing Joker aimed his flower and an acid spray melted the girl's face. As alarmed patrons fled the scene, a cold, dark rage at the Joker curled inside Penguin. The Joker eagerly returned to the Iceberg Lounge a few weeks later, but was insulted to find his name was not on the guest list. Willing to overlook this obvious mistake, he shot the doorman on his way in, kicked his feet up at the table, and ordered a glass of warm milk. He was pleased when alongside the milk was a summons to the club's VIP section. Led to a back room, past a tank where a tiny Sark circled. The Joker happily greeted the Penguin, who promptly pushed him out of the door onto the street. The Penguin squawked out that the club had a new no clowns policy before slamming the door. It's not like you haven't got anybody, Penguin. After arriving in Arkham City, the Joker and Harley Quinn were eager to explore the new stomping ground. Reflecting that years had passed since the Penguin banned Joker from the club, they sought out the blue neon lights of the Iceberg Lounge. Harley pounded on the door, asserting that Cobblepot would let bygones be bygones. Like, the past be the past? What does that phrase mean? The Penguin answered, a hulking guard at his side, and immediately reminded them of his no-clowns policy. Harley isn't a clown. He just managed to close the door before the ashes from Joker's flowers shot out of his face. Killer in the sewers. In order to remove Waylon Roan... That's not his name. That's not his name. Who the hell is Waylon Roans? That sounds like WWE username. Username is crazy. In order to remove Waylon Jones, aka Killer Croc, from the sewers below Arkham Asylum, Strange ordered a squad of Tiger Guards to lure him out using body parts from the deceased inmates. How did you get those body parts, my guy? Although the strategy proved unsuccessful, the team was able to subdue Croc when he emerged from the sewers looking for food once the bodies had run out. Okay. And the thing is, I gotta read way more than this. Yay. I don't think there's any stories in Arkham Asylum. That's why I did Arkham City first. And the thing is, I gotta do more reading in Arkham Knight. This is only one page, though. Hold on, let me get some water. Disgusted at the crimes Juris Tex committed in the guise of the Mad Hatter, Quincy Sharp decreed that Tex should never see the outside world again. For months, Tex was locked in solitary confinement, deep in the bowels of Arkham Asylum's maximum security wing. Locked up in the dark without his hats, his tea, and most importantly, his Alice. Tex's mind crumbled. Professor Hugo Strange became fascinated by Tex's case, but taking particular interest in Tex's mind control experiments. Strange manipulated security procedures, allowing full access to Tex behind the warden's back. What? Oh! Oh! Strange is him. But that makes no sense, whatever. If Hugo Strange's plans were going to work, he needed a way to control Quincy Sharp. Having worked with Tex for months, he had refined and perfected a psychoactive compound that would make anyone who ingested it more malleable and open to suggestion. The next day, Strange invited Sharp to join him for tea at his office in the administration building. Last one on the first page. Yay! The Maroney family has long been at war with their arch rivals. What am I talking about? The Falcones. In a constant game of one-upmanship, each family has been hurt. Sons and daughters have been killed. Businesses have been burnt to the ground, and still it goes on. Determined to win the war once and for all, the Maronis met in their family restaurant and talked into the night. Little did they know that as they talked, they were surrounded by Carmine Falcone's men who opened fire, killing almost everyone within. With their leadership gone, the surviving Maronis have all been incarcerated in Arkham City. Yeah. Yeah. That'd be fantastic. Not every building in Arkham City was in disrepair before Mega Prison was constructed. One operating building was the Gotham City Olympus nightclub, originally owned by Maxie Zeus. Although Maxie disappeared in Arkham Asylum after one too many rounds of electroshock therapy, the club kept running in his absence, leading some to think Maxie hasn't gone far. Cold When Hugo Strange arranged for Nora Freeze to be moved to Arkham City, her husband, Victor Freeze, aka Mr. Freeze, how original, escaped from his refrigerated containment cell to find her, but Strange was waiting for him, and he calmly informed Victor that Nora had been transported for her own safety, and that if Victor were to see her again, he should move quietly into his new home in Arkham City. To motivate Victor further, Strange promised him full access to laboratory facilities in the old CCPD building, now abandoned with the high security walls of Arkham City, stocked with all the tools required to seek a cure for Nora. That didn't turn out well. Mr. Freeze stood alone in his new laboratory. Everything Strange has promised was true. Everything except his frozen wife Nora, who was nowhere to be seen. Furious, Freeze upgraded his suit's weapon systems, arming himself to force Strange to give him back his wife. Waiting until dark, he marched out the GCPD, only to be ambushed by a squad of Tiger operatives with orders to take him to Professor Strange. Well, he still got what he wanted. Just in a different way. What do I do to make my pronunciation and reading better? What do I do? I did not realize it was this bad. I can't even go a sentence without mispronouncing a word. Like just now. Wow. I don't read much out loud. While in residence at the Arkham Asylum, Charles at the Hugo Strange experimented on prisoners as part of the process, leading to him unlocking the workings of the mind in order to control it. In order to cover up his experiments, he arranged for these poor individuals to be lobotomized, locked in the cells and forgotten. It was during these experiments that Strange perfected his ability to place post-hypnotic suggestions in the minds of his victims, a technique he used to guarantee absolute loyalty from his hand-picked Tiger Guards. Well, it's not a theory anymore. It's fact. After escaping from custody, the Joker released the lunatics and allowed them to roam free across Arkham Island in an attempt to stop Batman. Man, oh man, I wish I could just... Okay. Yeah, this was pure suffering for you. Hi, that is not what Bruce Wayne even looks like, my guy. Wow. Wow, that's not what it looks like at all. Wow. Wow. That is different. That's OG Bruce Wayne? That has to be drawn. There's no way. At the opening of the Cobblepot Towers, Henry Cobblepot, that's his father. Print magnate, magnet, magnate, whatever. Turned hot Tillier. Looked at his latest hotel, determined to outlast the also newly opened Grand Wayne Plaza. Desperate to have ruined his rival, Judge Solomon Wayne, Henry laughed at reports of the people of Gotham before the restrained splendor of the Wayne Hotel to his own locations. He swore that the Cobblepot Hotels would be the premier destinations of the world. He was wrong, and it cost him both his fortune and his health. On his deathbed, Henry left the remains of his fortune to his son, Stanley Cobblepot. Yeah, I don't know anything about Cobblepot's family. Like, anything. Who's Henry and who's Stanley? And who's Alan Wayne? Stanley vowed to outdo the Wayne family and the Empire, now headed by Alan Wayne. Was that his grandfather? Wait. I've never heard of any grandpa for Bruce Wayne. Hmm, okay. This is the start of the game when you play as Cowman. Stanley Cobblepot instigated a very public feud with the Wayne family. As the Wayne business empire extended to include hotels and other public buildings, Stanley was determined to outdo them, pouring more and more money into his fledgling hotel business. Camp. To the detriment of the newspaper business and his relationship with his son Oswald. Yay! An actual familiar character. As Stanley's businesses crumbled around him, he sent Oswald to school in England. Well, there's where he got the accent from. Feeling abandoned and picked on by his peers for his homely appearance, Oswald skipped class after class. Never mind, that's not where he got the accent from. Preferring the company of the thieves and scoundrels he met on the streets. What? By the time his father's empire collapsed, Oswald had vanished. Preferring the company of the thieves and scoundrels he met on the streets? When the council decided to shut down the Pinckney Natural History Museum, they sold this historic structure to the highest bidder located in a deteriorating part of the city. Many investors passed up the opportunity, but for Oswald Cobblepot, this was exactly what he wanted. He purchased this building and established this as his base of operations, converting the attached theme restaurant, the Iceberg Lounge, into a high-profile nightclub. To the public, Iceberg Lounge was a reputable establishment. I suck at reading, and I'm sorry to make you hear it. Wow. Where was I? But below the surface was a den of iniquity. A go-to place for illicit and illegal wares. The adjacent museum exhibit halls were repurposed as the Penguin storage facility, housing everything from his torture room, his weapon cast, and a gladiator pit. Illegal fights to the death occurred nightly, with the victors earning a job on the Penguin's crew. Dude, I am barely even... Hold on a second. The Penguin's operation was run on fear and pain. One night, a guest at the Iceberg Lounge was caught cheating at poker. The Penguin tortured this man in full view of everyone. A friend of the man grabbed a beer bottle, smashed it on a table, and attacked, driving the bottle hard into the Penguin's face. As the Penguin screamed, the attacker and his friend were dragged away to a private torture room. Cobblepot was examined by the finest doctors in Gotham City, but the prognosis was always the same. Removing the bottle could be fatal. A new Robin. Yeah, the Jason died, which is fact. When the Penguin received the eminent domain seizure from the City Hall, ordering him to vacate the Iceberg Lounge, he replied with a letter telling Mayor Sharp that no one tells Oswald Cobblepot what to do. He'd bought his property legally, and the city couldn't find somewhere else to stick their person. On the day that the perimeter wall was due to be completed, the CCPD were dispatched with backup from Tiger Guards to forcibly reclaim the building. The Penguin ordered his men to fight the police, killing 3 veteran officers. Yeah, right. Okay. These are thugs, mind you. And these officers are veterans. You're telling me a bunch of thugs that were given a gun with no training at all managed to take out 3 veteran officers. Whatever. With the Penguin's criminal nature no longer in dispute, Mayor Sharp ordered the wall closed, trapping the Penguin and his gang in Arkham City. Yippee! I finished the entire line! No coke! Ready to turn over a new leaf, Pamela Isley rejected her poison ivy persona. What? And opened a small flower shop in the back streets of Gotham, surrounded by plants. She was content for a while, but decided to continue to mistreat her babies, and eventually she snapped. A man can buy flowers for his wife, obviously feeling guilty about having been unfaithful. Pamela smiled and handed over an elaborate bouquet. The plants came to life, rapidly growing around his screaming face and piercing his skin with toxic thorns. Pamela laughed. Poison ivy was back. If you're going to cheat, it's already over. Buying flowers is gonna do nothing. The hell are you doing cheating? After being given an overdose of Titan by the Joker, Poison Ivy was left to die. What? In her airtight cell by Warden Sharp, who blamed her for the mass destruction of Arkham Island. That was mostly her and the Joker. As her health declined, she prayed for salvation. It came in the form of a priest, who was unknowingly covered in pollen from the trees near his church. As he performed the last rites, Ivy manipulated the pollen into an antidote that worked in harmony with the unique natural toxins in her blood, and, to the amazement of the priest, she began a full recovery. Furious, Warden Sharp locked her in a biological containment unit and arranged for her to be one of the first criminals into Arkham City. Why is everyone getting so furious all the time? Is that from... No, no. Quincy Sharp claimed to have been instrumental in stopping a riot at Arkham Asylum, stirring a tide of public admiration. Throughout his mayoral campaign, Sharp repeatedly told voters that he would never allow their safety to be threatened by his criminal scum. His victory was assured when he announced that he would create a new high-security prison that would forever separate the good people of Gotham City from the bad. Once elected, his first move was to put the relatively unknown psychiatrist, Professor Hugo Strange, in charge of the whole facility. I'm definitely doing reading time tomorrow for part 2. The Rat Catcher. Which also makes no sense on why he's in Arkham's shadow, because his birth date would make him way too young to have gray hair. Otis Flanagan, aka the Rat Catcher, looked out through the cellar window on the opening day of Arkham City. It was Rat King. Is Rat King a Rat Catcher? No, it's Rat King. That was his Two-Face. Where am I? Oh. Otis Flanagan, aka the Rat Catcher, looked out through the cellar window on the opening day of Arkham City. He had kept out of trouble so far, but he would need a plan to survive. Arkham City claimed to be escape-proof, and the Penguin had the illicit goods market sewn up, so Ratcatcher would sell small comforts. Fine soap, breath mints, extra buttons. He sent his rats out to collect such items from the outside world. It worked. Business was brisk, and he felt safe until the Penguin came looking for his rival vendor. Flanagan was dragged screaming through the streets of Arkham City, followed by 12 rats, into a museum and never seen again. And killed by rats. Or something ironic. A new Robin. Wait, what? Richard Dick Grayson was the youngest in the family of acrobats known as the Flying Graysons. Their death-defying act was all that kept the circus where they performed in business. As the people of Gotham clamored for tickets to the show, the mob came looking for the cut. After the circus owner refused them, mobsters killed Dick's parents during a packed performance attended by Bruce Wayne. What? Wasn't it something that just happened without his knowledge, and then when the tragedy happened, then Bruce was aware of it? I think that's how it happened in the Batman, so... Where was I? Okay. Wanting to protect the devastated orphan, Bruce took Dick under his wing and became his legal guardian, eventually entrusting the boy with his greatest secret. Desperate to help his friend and mentor, Dick trained hard to become Robin, patrolling Gotham at Batman's side. Now an adult, Dick fights crime on his own as his vigilante called Nightwing. Yay! Also, for some reason, people call him Nightwing with a K. K Knight. Nightwing. No one has seen Jonathan Crane, aka the Scarecrow, since he was attacked by Killer Croc in the sewers below Arkham Asylum. Some say he escaped certain death by dragging what was left of him onto a tiny container and floating out to sea, while others believe he was eaten by Croc. Undeterred, Batman has spent months searching for Crane. It's reason to believe that he is dead. If Crane is out there, one of his friends is Batman, then Batman knows Gotham will never be truly safe. And then came Batman Arkham Asylum. No. Wrong. No. Batman Arkham Knight. What am I talking about? Yay! No. This one. On a dark and stormy night in the late 19th century, a merchant named Cyrus Gold was murdered and dumped in the swamps near the emerging Gotham City. As the body sunk into the pit, it was exposed to an unusual chemical in the swamp, which miraculously reanimated the merchant. He set out wandering the streets of old Gotham, unable to remember his name and only able to recite the nursery rhyme called Solomon Grundy. Seemingly able to cheat death, the undead man, now called Solomon Grundy, was captured and ruthlessly experimented on. Determined to discover what had brought Grundy back to life, it became apparent that the creature was now immortal. Due to a combination of the swamp chemicals and a storm that raged on the night of his death. Swamp chemicals. As the army moved through the condemned Wonder City searching for stragglers, no one expected what lay in Ra's al Ghul's private medical laboratory. For months, Solomon Grundy had been exposed to a Lazarus chemical and then repeatedly electrocuted. He had died dozens of times, but each time he was brought back for more. While the soldiers debated what he even was, Grundy revived again and killed everyone nearby. Mentally broken by his ordeal, he waited at the lab for the doctor to return and murder him again. Even though she is a fearsome warrior in her own right, as Ra's al Ghul's daughter, Talia is always shadowed by a secretive order of highly trained female protectors, known as the Lead Guard. Each individual guard is chosen generations in advance and trained from birth to be the best of the best, easily capable of holding home against the 100 men. Yeah, like normal people, not trained fighters. Sermon Fine, aka the Broker, I don't know who that is, has carved out a lucrative business in Gotham City by being the go-to guy to purchase property. Mainly hired by the criminal underclass, Sermon will find and arrange all the necessary paperwork to ensure that the deal will go untraced while providing exactly what the client needs. In the past, he has purchased rooms on behalf of the Great White Shark, Mr. Zaz the Joker. When planning his revenge on Batman, the villain took advantage of the broken services to secure the buildings that would later house his challenges. The Great White Shark, huh? Man, if only. I would have loved to see him in this game. This dude is in Arkham Asylum's bios. By the way, I'm that close. Yippee. After all this, I want to go to sleep, man. Dang. After all this reading. The original Scarface puppet was carved from the old gallows tree at Blackgate Prison and eventually fell into the hands of the meek Arnold Wesker, who disappointed his mafia family by showing more interest in ventriloquism than gunplay. Scarface became an unlikely mob boss in Wesker's hands until Wesker was locked up in Arkham Asylum without his precious puppet. Forced to improvise, he scrounged up materials for a new Scarface, one left mute upon Wesker's departure from Arkham Asylum. Stop with that. Can I switch, please? Yeah, switch. I'm sick and tired of this.
There's still work to do here in Arkham City.
There. No. When the Joker took over Arkham, he discovered Scarface in lockup and took a liking to the puppet. Scarface quickly received a garish repaint and a new voice, complete with a demented laugh and a twisted sense of humor. When Batman shut down the Joker's ride at Arkham Asylum, it seemed that the relationship between the newly demented Scarface puppet and the Clown Prince had ended, until one of the Joker's old henchmen, Muggsy Banks, showed up at the steel mill in Arkham City. He'd rescued Scarface from the old asylum, knowing it would buy him favor with the Joker. And Muggsy was skillful enough to make a dozen more copies, freeing the Joker to mutilate any puppet that failed to use him. After all, another Scarface could quickly be built up for him to laugh with, abuse, and then break into pieces. Joker's only regret is that people aren't so easily toyed with and replaced. Or are they? Great. I am glad so. Before I move on to the other one, an Arkham Knight. As Strange's grip tightened and the gates of Arkham City slammed shut on Gotham's criminals, only three were left at large: Two-Face, Catwoman, and Batman. He's not a criminal. He is quite loaded as a vigilante hero. Well, superhero, even though he doesn't have any superpowers. His superpowers is money. Catwoman sat in her apartment debating whether to flee when her phone rang. On the other end, the unmistakable voice of Two-Face. Sorry, kitty cat, but one of us had to go down. Suddenly, tiger guards were at her door. Fleeing, Catwoman fought her way through guard after guard to the safety of a nearby roof. She could only watch as the guards ransacked her apartment until they found her safe. She waited her claws, but a shadowy figure appeared behind her and held a gloved hand over her mouth until she passed out. That could either be Hugo or Batman. Though I highly doubt that Hugo could get his hands on her. So I'm thinking Batman, just off the quickness. Batman came to... what? Catwoman came to in the Batmobile as it raced through the streets of Gotham. Yup. She angrily told Batman that he should not have gotten involved. Batman told her to give up on the loot and leave town before it's too late. Undeterred, he asked how Batman knew so much about Arkham City. He explained that he had found a secret room in Sart's office back in Arkham Asylum. What? How was this missing for years? Wait, what did they... No, hold on. When did they announce that there was a secret room in Arkham Asylum Sarp's office? Oh, 6 months after. So that's... yeah. Well, okay then. Okay. They could have just waited. Like, they could have just waited until this game came out. And then anyone who read this would tell people. And everyone would try everything different. But you had to say it 6 months after the game came out? That is impatient, bro. That is cool, though. If you're gonna find this out in Arkham City the next game after getting all the stuff. He explained that he had found a secret room in Sarp's office back at Arkham Asylum. really. Back at Arkham Asylum, filled with detailed plans for a new prison complex. Catwoman thanked him and pressed the emergency eject button on her seat. The Batmobile screeched to a halt, but it was too late. Catwoman had disappeared, and Batman knew exactly where she was headed. Two-Face was already in the warden's office in Arkham Asylum, photographing the plans for the secret vault inside Arkham City. As Catwoman burst into the room, Two-Face laughed as he tossed the originals into the fire. Furious, she knocked him to the ground, dropped the camera, and ran. With seemingly no escape for either of them, and the Tiger Guards alerted and closing in fast, Catwoman was suddenly pulled safe by Batman, and leaving Two-Face to be captured. As Catwoman ascended, she opened the camera to reveal her prize, only to find them caught at last. She looked down on Two-Face, who was swinging her the card before calmly swallowing it. Furious, Catwoman sliced through the line and plummeted to the ground, only to be surrounded by Tiger Guards, arrested and taken to Arkham City. Okay, one slight problem. One slight problem. I played Joker's Carnival with Catwoman. Just off that. How? How? Sir, they have guns. But you quite literally have taken down an entire Titan. In like 30 people. In less than 3 minutes. Not only that, but you struck someone. Well, you struck a lot of people 220 times, and you are telling me you got caught by some Tiger Guards with guns. Whatever. That is the wrong button. Tigers in the city. Hold on, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Wow. I'm getting tired from me just reading. Wow. Be right back. 8:07 p.m. Just saying. Alright, in the comments, no. Not surprised that they laughed, actually. Not surprised. After disagreeing with Commissioner Gordon over the policing of Arkham City, Quincy Sharp announced that a private firm had been commissioned to provide a total security solution. Tiger. Unknown to everyone but Hugo Strange, each Tiger operative, was profiled and implanted with a post-hypnotic suggestion that made them unquestionably loyal to him and him alone. When Vicky Vale first interviewed Quincy Sharp, just days after the events at Arkham Asylum, she felt something was wrong. Their later appearance on the Gotham Nightliner, so that she co-hosts confirmed her suspicions, convinced that Sharp was not the hero he made himself out to be. Vale pressed him for answers and became confused, struggling with facts. He became confused, struggling with the facts. As he moved in for a journalist's kill, she was shocked when Sharp suddenly regained his composure, answering all her questions with authority. It was as if he suddenly spoke with someone else's voice. Whatever was going on, Vale became even more determined to uncover the truth. That was smart. Just 4 left. I get like a good head support, man. Holy. We don't need a good head support. There you go. Over a century ago, the mysterious Ra's al Ghul arrived in Gotham City and the Gotham Elders. Even then, Gotham was a crime-ridden, lawless place. Ra's promised a brighter future for all in exchange for a deed in the north end of the city. The Gothamites laughed at the strange man until he produced more gold than they had ever seen. A deed in hand, Ra's began construction of a new city. A utopian vision powered by clean, free energy with no crime. The future would be bright, and as the last brick was laid by the slaves he had sifted from his homeland, Ra's presented the future of Gotham, Wonder City. Mechanical guardians watched over the population of Wonder City, While behind the scenes, lawbreakers were removed and executed. Wonder Tower stood above it all, a monument to prosperity, but for Race, the real reason for choosing location was simple. Beneath the streets, he had located a chemical source that he called Lazarus. In small doses, it would rejuvenate a person. But Race believed that with enough power, the Lazarus could be supercharged to defeat any ailment, even death itself. But unknown to all but Race engineers, Wonder Tower was really a giant lightning rod. When the time was right, he would test his theory. Wonder City continued to operate for months before the effect of prolonged exposure to the Lazarus chemical became clear. It was driving the city's inhabitants insane. When Ra's al Ghul failed to act, the newly formed Gotham City Hall did. Wonder City was declared a public health hazard and quarantined. Troops dragged the screaming citizens out of their homes straight to Arkham Asylum. Ra's al Ghul disappeared as Gotham reached into the sky. New neighborhoods were built over Wonder City, and the site until the site was all but forgotten. Some years later, Ra's returned in need of his old Lazarus pit. As his forces began the mining process, the streets above collapsed, but Ra's forced them to keep digging. The payphone killer. And I'm already regretting to do this. Just saying. At first, it was just missing people, last seen near payphones, but then the bodies started to appear, mutilated and opposed. Stories of a payphone killer spread fast. As the sound of ringing phones haunted the streets, Mr. Zez smiled, hiding in a lair he'd purchased from the broker. He monitored an array of surveillance cameras pointing at each payphone in Arkham City. As each victim answered his call, he acted fast, following them, tracking their movements, and then, when time was right, killing them. It was perfect. He knew one day he would see Batman holding that phone, and then he would be able to cover his final mark. I am finally done with this game.
Rage is spread all over Arkham City now.
I'm getting off. Have a good day and night.